And we're here with Mike L. Brown, a board member for the Bronx Independent Cinema Center. Mike Brown attended Howard University and NYU's Graduate Film School, where he studied under celebrated filmmakers such as Spike Lee and worked on the documentary When the Levees Broke in New Orleans, Louisiana. Later, Michael received support from the Sundance Documentary Institute, Firelight Media, Ford Foundation, and Tribeca All Access for his directorial debut, the feature documentary 25 to Life, previously on Netflix. Michael's latest short film, Thousand Lights of Sun, premiered on Revolt TV. Michael believes great filmmaking is a combination of art, intellectual engagement, and entertainment. This philosophy informs his artistic approach in order to make a compelling film. He employs all cinematic tools to reach the heart, mind, and soul of the audience. Welcome, Mike. How you doing? Happy New Year.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Wow. Greg, where did you learn to enunciate like that?
Theater, Binghamton University.
I was going
Gotta
to
hit
say,
the operative word.
I was going to say, yeah,
Nice.
it definitely sounded like somebody who did some theater back in the day.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
like
Yeah.
the Olympic level athleticism of, just verbal gymnastics. That shit was awesome.
No, thank you, man. Once we got the clap going, Happy New Year. Let's dive into it, man.
Yep.
Mike, you got a film that was in the Big Apple Film Festival. It's called The Celebration. You want to tell us about it?
Sure. The Celebration is a dramatic short film about a mother in the throes of grief who persists on planning her son's high school graduation celebration. And in the end, we found out that several months after his death due to gun violence. This film was funded by New York State, in part by New York State Council on the Arts, with fiscal sponsorship from Third World Newsreel. And I also teamed up with executive producers Chris Poindexter and Cameron Townsend, and it was produced by Margie Merritt and shot by cinematographer Justin T. Davis.
I love it. Like rattling off the key members of the team that made it happen. I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, Mike, what was it like to make such an impactful short film? I mean, we saw it in preparation for this interview.
Yeah.
But really, what was it like making this film? What inspired the story?
So it was a great process. We met for several months prior to the actual shoot days to prepare for the production, and we put an emphasis on pre-production. So I teamed up with Margie, amazing producer Margie Merritt, and cinematographer Justin T. Davis, and we prior to the shoot days, we met every Saturday at 8 a.m. For several months prior to the shoot days to focus on pre-production planning, and that was like the shot list, the storyboards, location, casting, and other pre-production tasks. And from there, we really just hit the ground running in production because we were super organized. And we put such an emphasis on pre-production. So I was really about optimizing because I have a day job, it was really about optimizing my evenings and weekends to prepare for the shoot. Mm-hmm. And we really worked hard to make sure we're super organized and have a great production.
I love that. Is that how you normally work your projects? Is a lot of focus pre-production, or was that different this time?
Well, yes. Usually, I've learned that putting the emphasis on pre-production and planning makes for a smooth production. So, I usually take the time in any production that I'm working on. The three phases from pre-production, production, and post-production. Putting the emphasis on pre-production and planning makes for a smooth production. So, even though the shoot was only 3 days, meeting with Margie and meeting with Justin several months prior to the shoot days made for a smooth production.
Wow. So you only shot for 3 days, you said?
Yes.
Wow. And it was several months of pre-production. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can see how that is very important for shooting in that small of a window.
Yeah. That's really awesome because it's like, everybody has a variety of methods. I know some directors, they'll do a lot of prep, but they only shot list and they don't storyboard.
Right.
And like, but you did both. I mean, I love to do both. You know, that's pretty awesome. Like, you were able to do everything in 3 days. Could you found like every possible thing that could happen and you addressed it.
Yes, it was really about troubleshooting and thinking ahead.
And is that something you learned on the job, or was that something you learned at NYU?
Yeah, through all my educational experiences, is at NYU Film School, at Howard, and through practical experiences of making films, the trial and error, I learned to put the emphasis on pre-production and planning.
Got you.
Yeah.
I love that because it's a short film and it's emphasizing you have a short amount of time to get it right, like capture lightning in a bottle. You only have 3 days, and I love that you emphasize because we've talked about this. You have a day job,
Yes.
and that's why it necessitates pre-production is so important. So if you're listening to this, making a short film, taking several months to plan, you're going to execute a terrific project, and it'll culminate with you screening it at the Big Apple Film Festival. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Sure. The Big Apple Film Festival was so exciting because it was our New York premiere. Prior to the Big Apple Film Festival, we did screen the film at Michaud Film Festival online, which was based in Los Angeles. But our New York premiere was at the Big Apple Film Festival, and it was great because I'm based here in New York City, and we shot the film in Harlem, New York, and many of the crew are based here. Practically all of the crew are based here. So it was a great experience to have just to see the culmination of the film on the big screen and in front of a large audiences, and there was a Q&A afterwards. So it was very exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So
man.
you kind of touched on it briefly. Could you speak a little bit more about filming in Uptown, New York, and working with other creatives in the city and specifically Uptown?
Yeah, sure. So, as you know, filmmaking is a collaborative endeavor. So, teaming up with Justin and Margie, that was the first step. And then we enlisted a great cast and crew. And all of the cast and crew were based in New York City. And we found a great location. I think it was from Peerspace or a
Great
website similar to that, where we had our main location in Harlem, New York. It was actually on Langston Hughes block
That's
on
awesome.
127th Street in East Harlem.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So it was a brownstone. That was a beautiful brownstone, and the owner was very gracious, of course, with the location fee. And the insurance.
I know my space looks good. You want to use it? You had insurance and everything.
Yes, with the location fee and insurance, but the homeowner was very gracious to allow us to use the location because we wanted to find a very specific location that had the bedrooms, the living space, and also a backyard for the actual celebration, which was the culmination of the ending of the film.
Yeah.
So it worked out really well.
Yeah. It's interesting. You touched on casting briefly there. I want you to elaborate because, I think the performances in the film, they feel very natural, really lived in. And, I just am curious to see, like, how did you approach casting in terms of who you wanted and how did you work with the actors?
Sure, that's a great question. I teamed up with a emerging casting director that I worked with on my last short, Thousand Nights of Sun. My former classmate from the Bronx, Zanisha Green, and
go.
she really led the casting process, and that entailed many auditions, putting out casting notices on Backstage, casting networks, breakdown services, and whittling it down to a number of talented actors and actresses to find our stellar cast. And we ended up with a great cast, the starring actress, Shanae Harris, and the starring actor, Jonathan Jazz Anderson. They were the leading roles, the mother and father. And I rehearsed with them several times, so it was really a great process. Really getting the actors to pour their heart and soul into their character portrayals.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I felt it. Like, what's interesting is also like what goes hand in hand with directing the actors is, of course, how you direct the camera, and there's like a lot of like there's like a lot of like really nice shots in this film, but it goes beyond that. You know, shots. The beauty of it in part is like the functional aspect of it. And that's the difference between a good shot and a great shot. Like, what was your process in terms of like working with the DP in terms of how you wanted to capture the actors in the frame and how they're blocked and all that good stuff? You know.
Yeah, my working with the DP, Justin T. Davis, was a collaborative process. He's amazing because he's had such experience. His background is as a gaffer, and he's transitioned into cinematography. So he has knowledge of lighting and creating tones and style. So the first thing we did was I drafted a pitch deck, which included photo references of from other films to give him some idea of what we were going for. And then from there, we were able to talk about tone and style and shot direction and storyboards and shot lists and go deeper. And so really it was a collaborative process working with Justin, and he was there on the locations during the location scouting. So really, we walked through. It was really helpful to have him there during the location scouts because we were able to walk through the location and map out the shots but prior to the shoot days.
Right.
Yeah, also, with your cinematography, or at least the choices, the shot composition, it's a lot of portrait style, like characters in the middle of the frame, and a lot of just seems like blocked off shots on tripod. What was the intention behind that? Because watching it, I was like, I feel like I'm watching a very specific shot list and also a very specific,
precise.
Yeah, precise. Exactly. That's the better word. Precise use of just framing. Like,
has that like Kubrick precision?
Yeah,
that's what I kept thinking of.
The shot of the mother in the bathroom with the just trying to release it, and then the shot of her on the yoga mat, and then the shot of her in the backyard is all super specific. The shot of her sitting up in bed on the phone, just super specific shots of like, okay, watching this, I feel like if you're a man, you're watching the father. If you're a woman, you're looking at the mother. You can easily put yourself into those characters' shoes. Like, oh, how would I feel in this situation? So you can talk a little bit more about your approach with the specific shots that you ended up, deciding on production and in post production.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for that. Thank you for that insight. I think that in those observations, I think that we really wanted to bring the characters, the audience into the mind of the characters and to the emotion of the characters. You know, they're dealing with trauma and grief, but also love and joy.
Right.
And so we wanted the realism and the tone to be kind of stable, but also bring you into their point of view. So I think just having that polished look helped to elevate that tone and those emotions.
I love that point about like showing their perspective and their point of view, because something that I was thinking a lot about is like trying to find your own space when you're in a shared space, and just how hard that can be sometimes.
Great point.
Right.
And also just about the love and the pain. I love how it's so fluid, how their love and pain like goes in and out. It's like, Paul especially, I think, is a good example of that, where he's very loving with Gina 1 second and then just so clearly like hurt and just like unable to give her that.
Right. There's a tension between the time they spend together and time they spend apart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wonder if you could talk more about the love and pain.
That's a good point, because we really wanted to I really wanted to dive into the spectrum of emotions and bring the audience not into, even though the emphasis was on their healing process, but the healing process and the trauma that they've experienced through the loss of their child is not one note. It's not
Right.
just about grief and pain. It's also about love and the joy and the memories and things of that nature. So that's
Yeah.
why I wanted to bring the audience into the spectrum of emotions and to really reveal their healing process in that way.
Yeah, something I wrote down is celebrating Black healing rather than Black pain. That was something I was thinking a lot about because,
Beautiful.
something, a film that tackles subject matter like this is often just about the grief and the sorrow and the
Right.
destruction, but this is a lot more about community and love and like rebuilding. I wanted to also bring up the scene where Paul is in the room in his son's room and he's packing up the boxes.
Yeah.
For me, when I was watching that, I was thinking that this is like a great symbol, great example, literalization of him compartmentalizing and putting his thoughts and feelings into boxes and just
Right.
trying to like move past it. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that scene and what you're trying to
that
go for.
scene when he was packing the boxes. So it's been some time has passed at this stage, at that juncture, where the son has died, and so Paul has finally reached the stage because the celebration for his high school graduation is that day. He's finally reached the stage where he's come to the point to pack the boxes because they haven't touched the items in the room. The room has really gone. His bedroom, the son's bedroom, has gone untouched. So that was really my thought process behind that. But the mother, Gina, she hasn't come to the point where she wants that anything to be changed
move on,
to move on.
Yeah.
So that in that friction between them, that push and pull between the mother and father happens throughout the movie, throughout the short film, and I thought that was really elevated the tension, just having that friction between them throughout the whole film. But he finally comes around to be on her same page by the end of the film.
Yeah, it's for me like a few operative words come out: closure, catharsis, and then of course trauma. Like and it's different outlets. Like he's in the kitchen with the ice and the knife.
Yep.
Right,
Yes.
right,
Absolutely.
Different outlets, and he's talking about it used to be back in the day, it'd be a fist fight or something. And,
Yep.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask is, if any, what films inspired this film? Because watching the ending and watching the culmination, it made me think of a couple of films. But I wanted to know. It made me think of a couple of films, but I wanted to know which ones maybe, if any, inspired you.
Sure. So when I was making the film and writing the film, I was inspired by a photo originally, a photo of Mike Brown Jr., the 17-year-old teen who was murdered in Ferguson, Missouri in 2014. So, but that photo really resonated with me, but there were films that also resonated with me that helped me in my writing process, such as The Rabbit Hole. That film was about parents dealing with grief over loss of a child. We Need to Talk About Kevin, which is another film about parents dealing with a parent dealing with trauma. And so films like that. And I would say just in general, filmmakers that I respect, who I think speak my language, are like Barry Jenkins and his work, the tone and style, even though the subject matter of his films have been quite different from The Celebration, this short film, but Barry Jenkins, Ronaldo Marcus Green, and of course Spike Lee. So those filmmakers, I feel like they speak my language, and their films subject matter might be different, but I like the way they tell their stories.
I just loved how you just outlined that.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's so eloquent and so well said.
Yeah,
It's,
that's a great way to put it, speaking your language, and that, regardless of subject matter, they're just guys who are, directors, female, whatever, who, regardless of what they're making, you're there for.
Right. And there's like all those like subtle like distinctions between them. Like, you may see certain overlaps, but like Barry Jenkins is not Spike Lee. There's influence, but also
Exactly.
You look at Barry Jenkins, you get Paul Thomas Anderson or Jonathan Demme. You know, it's amazing stuff. Do you? I had this on my mind a little earlier, going back to the performances. Do you like to improvise with actors, or is it?
Yes, I experimented with improvisation with the cast of the celebration with the main actors, Shanae and Jonathan, but only during rehearsal. So I welcome their ideas during rehearsal, during improv, because we may have found an idea that we could shift the line or adjust the line or a scene here or there to make it more organic.
Yeah.
And they had a great perspective, because after all, I was asking them to pull from their personal experiences to make their character portrayals more believable. And but by the time,
makes me think of like Mike Lee.
Oh yeah, he's a great filmmaker as well that I look up to. And but by the time we got to the set, the script was set in stone or solidified, and we were stuck to the script.
Nice. It's funny. Like there's always like, I guess some kind of like mythic idea about improv where it's like, you know, like things just happen like haphazardly. It's not just spontaneous. It's like there's no kind of planning, but there is, or there's planning from like creating an environment where those things can happen and then integrating it into what you're creating like fluidly.
Listening to what Mike said, utilizing it as a tool throughout, that rehearsal time. Let's see what can be done, because it's a collaborative art form. I loved it. You said bring in their lived experiences.
Yeah.
Right.
The script is the guideline, and it's got to be set in stone. Unless you're Kubrick and it's like the day of your rewriting scene.
Or Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't want to mention that one. I mentioned the dead person, not the alive.
no, Hitchcock.
No. Oh, that's a little more
Hitchcock
controversial.
too.
Well, that's a little more controversial, if anything. But I like that it's something where the director is working with the actor, and it's like, okay, it's a give and take here, or I should say it's more collaborative. Utilizing improvisation as a tool. I love that. It's something I like to do with actors in the past when I would make my narrative films. Hey, I wrote this story. Here's my experience. Here's what I want to get. And as you're reading this, let's do a little bit of an improv here to see what comes to the surface and can lift the words off the script and go into the performance. So I really like that. And I said that to ask this question. What did you learn in making this film? It's always, with each project, you hope to get better, you hope to learn, but what maybe lessons or what valuable piece of experience could you extrapolate from this, for making the celebration?
Yes, so like you said, each film you want to get better. So that's the ultimate goal, is just to get better. So there were a few key lessons that were either reinforced or that that came about in making the celebration, this short film. And one, it starts with the script. So the script has to be solidified, has to be tight before we dive into pre-production, dive into production. So it starts with the script. 2, scale the production to your budget. If I know that I only have a micro budget, then I have to scale the locations. We only use one location, one main location, even though we did shoot the flashback in another studio. But scaling the production to the budget is important. And then also try to pay the crew and feed the crew and cast well.
Definitely.
Because maybe with the first 2 or 3 short films that I've made, I got away with calling in favors and asking people to work for free. But after that, I feel like I'm unfortunately past that juncture. And I tried to pay everybody something. And, in 2025, it's expensive to be in New York. So so I would recommend trying to put together some type of budget to pay everybody in the cast and crew. And then setting the tone. The director sets the tone, a positive tone on set, because it's a ripple effect throughout the set. And then lastly, delegate as much as possible. so I can concentrate on directing. And many times in micro budget films, we found ourselves wearing many different hats,
Right.
and that can take away from the directing craft.
Greg has a big
like-
smile on his
Yeah,
face.
like,
Yeah.
and that's
the director, but
we have
also
to do that sometimes. We have to make
careful.
compromises, but
Right.
as much as you can delegate, the better you can. The more cognitive space you have to focus on the directing craft.
Yeah.
Really quick rapid fire here. What was your policy on set? Cell phones or no cell phones?
Well, when we're shooting, after we call action or during, of course, we ask everybody to silence their cell phones, and the AD reminded us of that and things of that nature. But I didn't have a rigid policy on cell phones on set otherwise. But that's a good point.
10-hour day or 12-hour day?
Oh,
Well, because we paid for our locations. We were kind of set into a shooting schedule, and that required us to shoot. I believe it was a 10-hour day, 8 to 10-hour day, but there was one day where we did go to 12 hours.
Last two. What was your crappy?
I
was-
was
what
gonna
was my-
ask. I was gonna ask who catered because the food at the
yeah.
end looked real nice. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
real.
Yes. Well, we were in Harlem, so there's many great places to eat in Harlem. So the food that we had for the actual celebration was soul food from a place called Manners, and which is an a la carte
Shout out.
soul food place.
I'm gonna have to
buffet,
go there.
A la carte place in Harlem. I think they have 2 locations there, and we not only had it for the actual craft services, but we actually had the more food, double portions for the to use for the actual scene.
Nice.
It looked great, by the way.
Yes. No.
you.
The food, the food looked awesome,
It did.
and that's
Yeah.
big in movies. Like a lot of times
Yeah.
they're lazy with it. They don't make it look that good. But
Right.
Could
I
you
was
shout
hungry.
out the name of the vendor one more time?
Manners, Mannas.
I think I know Manners. It's funny, like 'cause I grew up in Harlem till I was 9. I moved to Yonkers at that
Right.
age. I still live in Yonkers, but I think I know Manners. Yeah.
Last one. Here's the big one. Really quick. Any war stories on set?
Oh my God!
I love it.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's always some
Yes.
more stories.
That's
Let
it.
me-
Rapid fire. Share one.
Okay, one. Well, the first day on set, like I said, that was,
I was the first day.
it's
yeah.
always like something, right? Murphy's Law. It's always
Thank you.
something, but we try to be prepared. But this what I wasn't prepared for. I was driving the equipment van, and I parked a little too close to a vehicle the first day, the morning of.
Oh no.
And it was the owner came out, and he was furious.
Oh.
And he thought I hit his car, and I didn't hit the car, but I was this close.
Right.
Parked the vehicle, but it was such a great parking space. My crew was like, "Yeah, you can fit in it. Yes, you can fit in that parking space." Until the owner came out, and so he went from 0 to 100.
Oh, shit.
And so on the first day, it's like 7 a.m. My actors are almost to
my
set.
gosh.
All my crew is there setting up the breakfast food, and we're loading in equipment in the house, and the owner is looking. Owner of the Brownstone, and I'm like, okay, so Mike.
Wait, was it the owner of the Brownstone you're
No.
shooting or next door or something?
Like
No,
an,
it wasn't the owner's car.
Oh,
it
like
was just a
or
neighbor.
something. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So he was irate, and he went from 0 to 100. So he wanted to argue, and so I had to put on my calm hat.
One of your many hats.
Yeah.
Calm producer hat. Yeah.
And say, and try to diffuse the situation.
Right.
So that's just something that could come up in any, you have to just stay solution oriented. That's what I learned.
Yeah.
You can't fight on the first day and
I was
the
about to
first
say,
morning. And then
You can't do it on the first day, but the last day, maybe.
maybe the last
right,
day.
right.
I try to,
All the
I try
pent-up
to
aggression.
avoid all conflicts, if possible. So
Oh,
that was
man.
definitely
Right.
a situation where I had to diffuse and then we ended up shaking hands at the end of the
nice.
at the by the time the actors got there.
Nice. Okay.
So
That's
it
good.
was, but that was one of the war stories that I wish didn't happen.
I know with like shorts, they don't always get distribution. People don't always seek distribution. They'll submit them to festivals and things of that nature. But is there any place we could find this short, or is it going to be screening anywhere?
Well, we after our first two festivals, we just screened at the Kwanzaa Film Festival. So I'm waiting to hear back. So if any film festivals that are listening right now and they are interested in the film, let me know, because we're continuing to submit on Film Freeway, and we're looking forward to having more screenings in 2025.
Already. So, where can we find you on social media and your film, The Celebration, on social media?
Where can we stalk you?
Yeah, I welcome new followers and connecting with other filmmakers and film lovers. You can find me on IG at Mike Lamar Brown, MikeLamar Brown. That's my main IG, my only IG, my main
gonna
place
say,
that
Mike's
I'm
got
on
the
social
burner.
media, and I'll post about the celebration there and any upcoming screenings.
Nice. Well, thank you for coming on, man.
Really briefly, I wanted to just touch on. I don't think we did the fact that you're a board member of the
Yeah.
BICC.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to speak about your involvement, your role in the organization?
Sure. I love being a board member of BICC because I get to support, amplify, and fellowship with underrepresented voices in film, such as myself. And it's a really great place where we foster community engagement and uplift cinema in the Bronx.
And it's so
Absolutely.
It's so great to Mike. I want to say, like, if there's like a spirit award for most impactful and consistent board member, it's definitely you. You've been so amazing.
Yeah.
Like we first.
Thank you. That's an honor.
Oh, thank you. We met at a cafe. Well, didn't meet, but we met up to speak about this a couple of years ago at a cafe near 110th Street, and then since then, you've been such like just a stable, I guess, say heart and soul of the board. So consistent. Always able to make the meetings on time and contributing, and always wanted to go above and beyond. And right now we're working with potentially working with Mike's old job, Bronx Community College, to redesign our website. And also right now we're in the midst of going into year 3 to continue to lobby.
Nice.
For independent cinema
Absolutely,
center in the
yes.
Bronx. So
Yes.
our elected officials, if you're listening, and people in the industry, unions, and so on and so forth, people in the industry, filmmakers, studios, we're looking to bring a cinema to the Bronx. I also wanted to ask you, Mike, give me your honest take here. What has been maybe the ups and downs of being a board member for such a young nonprofit? Like I said, we're only into our 3rd year.
Ups and downs. Oh, that's a good question. I think at the end of the day, we just have to stay solution oriented. That's my whole outlook, is to have put a positive spin on challenges. And I guess as a young organization, there's always challenges with funding and proving yourself and finding your place, because there are comparable organizations and amazing organizations across New York City, but we have a special place and a special place that we carved out for ourselves here in the Bronx, and I feel like it's a unique organization and doing some great things to foster community engagement and uplift cinema. And I look forward to the future. I look forward to all of the working with Greg and all of our amazing volunteers and officers. So shout out to you all. And I think it's going to be a great year, 2025. We've like we've posted, we've done over 35 events over the past couple of years. And those events included workshops, screenings, mixers. And so just doing
Talk about it.
more of that just doing more of that will continue to show that our heart is in the right place and our mind is in the right place.
Yeah.
And we're here to do the work to bring community together around cinema and film.
Yep. Please follow us on social media at Bronx Cinema, and we're located at 2501 Grand Concourse, right there off Fordham Road. Thank you to the Lehman College, CUNY on the concourse, the Bronx Business Tech Incubator. That's where we have had our screenings recently and workshops, and we're also getting into workforce development. Mike, just last two questions on your film. We spoke about this before. Gordon had mentioned it, micro-budget film, film festivals. What was, I guess, in terms of distribution, what is your goal with the film? It's oftentimes we talk about film being a business and trying to recoup your investment, make a profit, or get distributed on a streaming platform, or win a certain film festival award. What was your film? If you want to talk about that. What's your
Sure.
goal for the film, I should say?
Yes, it's like, after you finish the film, it was such a marathon to finish the film, and it's kind of like I just want to rest and relax from there. But it doesn't stop there, as you said. The distribution, making sure it gets to an audience, that's the main goal. That's the overarching goal, is to make sure the
Yeah.
film gets to an audience so people can enjoy the film and really, hopefully it will resonate with them. So after we're going to continue to do the festival circuit in major cities and more festivals in New York City, and hopefully here in the Bronx and beyond. And from there, like with my last short film, we had a television broadcast on Revolt TV.
Great.
So something comparable to that would be great. I know there are other networks such as Aspire.
Yeah,
There's
they run a
other
lot of
streaming
shorts.
platforms such as Quality TV. And a number of others that have opportunities for streaming. So I'm looking into that. And I think there are becoming more and more opportunities for short films to receive distribution. So I'm looking out.
Awesome. And last question for me is, any advice for aspiring new or young filmmakers from Harlem, the Bronx, Washington Heights, Inwood, Yonkers, Mount Vernon?
Sure. So we're in New York City. We're in the creative epicenter of the world. And so really taking advantage of that, because this is where we can make our stories happen. And I gravitated towards New York because this is where we can bring our stories to life on the big screen. We're close to the opportunities. So taking advantage of the media landscape, the film industry landscape, ecosystem here in New York City, we have to do that. And so tapping into organizations like Bronx Independent Cinema Center, tapping into organizations that are in your local town or city in New York City is very important. And just hone your craft. I would say any aspiring filmmakers should hone their craft. And that there's so many things that go into the craft of filmmaking, and that from collaboration and teamwork to technical skills to creative skills such as directing actors. So just the more you can hone your craft, the better product, or the better project you can deliver. And that's what it's all about, delivering the best project possible and taking advantage of any opportunities that come across, and networking, building your network, finding your tribe. And lastly, I would say have a personal mission. Having a personal mission to knowing your why will get us through a lot of uncertain times and challenging times.
Nice.
I love that. I have one quick one, kind of a personal question, Mike, but you've talked a lot about the mindset of being success or solution oriented. And you just generally seem like you have a really positive, optimistic outlook on life. I just wanted to know, like, is that something that's just like inherent to you, or did you have that as instilled as like a kid from your family? Like, where does that come from?
That's something that I should reflect on.
Getting deep here.
Yeah, I think that having a optimistic, cautiously optimistic, as my friend would say, is very important because I think because I've realized success is not linear. I've had some obstacles, I've had some challenges throughout my career trajectory and personal trajectory, personal life, but I realized that having an optimistic outlook, and I'm really into meditation, and I'm really into having a mantra and affirmations, things of that nature. And I felt like those things really help to overcome obstacles and overcome any challenges. So just staying solution oriented, I feel like it's the best way to be.
I love that. Thank you.
Mike, thank you so much for the time. This is so engaging and insightful. Thank you again.
Thank you. I enjoyed being here and I enjoyed this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
You're watching Uptown Films, so keep watching films Uptown.
Hey there, I'm Nicole Tay, and you're watching Uptown Films.
Hi, my name is Sean Senavrati, and you are listening to the Uptown Films Podcast.
Hi, this is Alvaro Franco, and keep making films Uptown, and please keep showing Uptown some love.
Hi, my name is Zayn Lindsay, and you're watching Uptown Films.
Hey, this is Christopher Hall. Thanks so much for listening to the Uptown Films Podcast.
So we got a lot of things going on this week or in the past week.
Yeah.
What are some current event things that you, topics that you'd like to touch on?
I brought up Carla Sofia Gascon because
Who's
there
that, by
were
the way?
She is the lead actor from Emilia Perez, playing the titular role of Emilia Perez.
Right.
Yeah. So over the week, some tweets came out from Carla's recent past. I think often tweets are dug up from years and years ago, and people are like, "Oh, well, that was a long time ago." Whatever. Well, these are from I think as recent as 2023. Some of them
brand spanking new.
I mean,
not brand spanking new. If it's 2023, that's just like it's still fresh.
Well, if anything that's happened since the pandemic is recent. If it's pre-pandemic, it's like, that's pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Right.
This was like after 2020. It's like, oh, so even during a crisis, that's who you were. That's who you are.
Yeah.
Saying a
So
lot.
I don't know if I really need to read the tweets. I can if you guys want me to, but they're just,
Summarize it.
yeah, they're Islamophobic.
You can look it up
and-
for yourself.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
racist. So if you want to go see what she was saying, it was pretty heinous, in my opinion. But it's also interesting because this is the most nominated film at the Oscars this year.
13 nominations.
13 nominations.
Is that the maximum number of nominations you can get? I'm
I
sorry.
think it's like
I asked again.
15 or something, right?
So it has the most. That's amazing.
For like a live action.
Yeah, like for as a live action film, I think it's about 15, maybe 16.
So
So isn't that more than when Lord of the Rings? Didn't Lord of the Rings get like 11 nominations?
I think that it
Yeah,
got
something like
11 wins. It
11
might have gotten
wins.
13 nominations.
Yeah.
It might maybe. Or,
and plus, it's like you could also take into account multiple nominations in the same category for like acting stuff or like a original song,
right.
what have you.
This
Those
film's
things.
really good then.
Yeah. So
Well, it depends on who you ask.
Yeah, and the big development is that this film is obviously positioning the creators behind it have been positioning it as this kind of like light in a dark tunnel that our society is in, and this like progressive
Beacon of hope.
yeah, that we can look to. And this is the lead actor in the film. And also there's talk that the Oscars should take this nomination away, rescind the nomination.
For Best Actress?
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know.
What are the cases where previously the Oscars or the Academy has rescinded nominations?
Yeah.
Are there any that come to mind?
Honestly, I wouldn't.
I don't know.
I've never heard of this
I-
happening.
I know
of
people who were
someone-
kicked out of the Academy. Will Smith,
Right.
I mean,
Will
Will
didn't
Smith
get-
has like a
didn't get kicked.
well, he wasn't kicked
suspension
out.
or
He was
whatever.
suspended for 10
Suspended,
years. Yeah. I believe Bill Cosby was kicked out of the Academy. I think Roman Polanski and Woody Allen still have.
But award nominations rescinded.
Rescinded award
I've never
nominations.
heard of
I've
that.
never heard.
I've never
that
heard of
happen.
that.
So let's just assume we'd have to do our research here, but if we're wrong, we'll come back and correct it on another episode.
Right.
But as of right now, if this person were to be the first to be a nomination to be rescinded, then I haven't even seen the tweets yet. But Max, you described them to me off camera. Yeah, I could see that being a reasonable, logical conclusion, a good reason to take away a nomination.
What do you think about it, Gordon?
I haven't seen the tweets. I got the general gist of them.
Yeah.
Of course, I like to see them myself.
Right.
But I don't know. Like, I mean, like, if there's heinous as they're claiming, and then it's like, I understand.
I think sorry.
No, it's all right.
I think also the awards body is something to be discussed as well, because based on the nominations overall, it seems like they're trying to at least be in conversation with the current political climate and in some ways push back against that. We were talking about No Other Land being like a nominated film.
And it's still no distributor, as far as I know. Look it up.
Exactly.
But, as of today, February 1st, as far as I'm concerned, no distributor. It's like a mess of ironies, these tweets came from a star from this film. And it's like, well, terms like Oscar season going forward, that is a mess of a scenario. Like the movie. No.
Well, when are the Oscars?
March 2nd, I believe.
So the Academy has basically a month, they
Yeah.
could
To
act
figure this
quicker.
out.
I was
They could
gonna
act quicker within a week. Say, hey, you know what? You have to release a statement. You have to say this and this and that.
Yeah.
Because if you just think about it, if she were talking about another demographic, what would be the reaction?
Yeah.
That was an interesting point. There's a great interview with the journalist who found these tweets, and it's discussed in that, like, would this even stand right now? Like, if this was directed at another community,
Exactly.
it seems like there's less and less protections for the Muslim community.
Yeah.
But also, very briefly, I did want to point out that I also read another article.
Wait. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Before you advance the next article, I was going to ask you guys this. Given a possible rescinding of the award, if it happens, who do you think they would give that space to?
I don't
Given
know.
the buzz.
I don't know if they would. That's an interesting point. I don't know if they would just take that spot away or if they would put in the next person.
Yeah.
But my first reaction was Demi Moore is going to win this Oscar,
A
because
lot
I
of
feel like
buzz
this
going
is
her
like
way.
this is like just paving the way for her to win.
Yeah,
Well-
I think if they do rescind it, don't add somebody else and just keep. what you
Yeah,
have.
that's
in my opinion. But what do you think, Gordon?
I mean, okay, given the way the buzz has been going, I've yet to watch this film. I've wanted to. I love the filmmaker, Mike Lee. But hard truths, if this rescission happens, is that the right word, rescission? Am I off?
Yeah, sounds right.
If this happens, then it may be Marianne Jean-Baptiste for hard truths.
I would love that.
Okay.
Or that. I see that being very likely, given that people were very impassioned about her being snubbed.
There are some snubs out there, and then
Yeah.
Amelia Perez has multiple. You said,
Yeah.
for multiple categories, people.
Best actress, best supporting actress, picture, adapted screenplay director, 2 of the songs, cinematography, editing, score. It's 10. Foreign language film, sound,
Go, Gordon, go.
and Jesus Christ,
Screenplay or director?
They could afford to lose one.
director. I didn't say that before. I don't think I did. Yeah,
So they could afford to lose one.
yeah, 13 nominations.
I think so.
What article are you gonna?
Oh,
mention?
so yeah, I was just gonna say. Also, I don't know if I said this before. The other one I believe was in Vanity Fair Variety. So I just wanted to shout that out. Also, the There's one where a bunch of campaign experts were interviewed and basically asking, like, why did Netflix not do their due diligence? And somebody was saying that it costs like between $5,000 and $20,000 to like properly vet somebody, and it costs like $30 million to do like an all-out Oscars campaign from like a big body like Netflix.
Jesus.
So it's really
Can you say that again?
Yeah. So instead of spending between $5,000 and $20,000 to figure out if Carla Sofia Gascon had any problematic tweets or anything like that in her past, they chose to not do that and instead waste millions of dollars on this campaign. And now, like, who knows what the results in general for this film will be, you know, because I could easily see voters getting turned off from, bless you, from the other categories based on this.
That's true. The ramifications of it could cost money. Not all bad publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
Especially if, you know, it's in this critical juncture, it's like, hey, you could go from winning the most prestigious award in our industry to being having a dubious honor of rescinding
your Oscar. I mean, the only other thing I can think of that's almost bad is, like, you know, smacking somebody. No, stop.
Keep my wife's name.
But like this Trump, I mean, this is worse. I'm like, Jesus.
That was so well timed.
But it's crazy. Like people
said
were like,
Jesus.
people were like laughing. Well, not laughing. People were like, you know, outraged when Will Smith won. It's like, you know, what he did wasn't really good. But I'm like, him winning didn't bother me. I'm like,
well, that's the thing. Again, we talked about this before, but its cultural relevance and its prestige have been abating recently.
Right.
By recently, the last few years. So, yes, it's still a big deal. I have to read the tweets, and if it is rescinded, it's a major deal. However, I just want to say again that whose problem is this? That these are the problems of rich people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And if this person has this money and this life, and they have that, you know, if they did indeed tweet these things, which I'm not saying this is an accusation, we need to prove this. No, I'm just saying if they did do this and this is how they feel,
yeah,
sucks to
rough.
be you. So you went to a Knicks game?
Yeah. Oh my God. Actually, it is kind of relevant because you know who was sitting in Celebrity Row?
I knew you were going to bring it up. Spike Lee.
Well, Spike Lee's always there, but Timothée Chalamet.
Oh,
Holy
yeah!
crap.
I was like, yo!
Wait, when were you there?
that is interesting.
Last Monday, this past Monday.
Because didn't he do SNL the previous
Yeah, on
week?
Saturday. Yep.
He's
Yeah.
in New York.
So it was him. Adam Sandler was there. Chris Rock. Actually, there's a ton of celebrities, but very
And
cool.
the Knicks are good now. And
Knicks
Really?
smashed the Grizzlies. It was like 143 to 109, I think.
How did
They
John-
just
Interesting.
How did
torched
John
them.
Moran do?
He got shut down.
Good.
Yeah. He was I forget the final line, but I think it was under 10 points.
All right, and that's our,
That's
our
enough sports talk.
That's our sports section.
Did you see how like invigorated I got when we started
Really?
talking? So
He really loves sports. So I think with this scandal, with the tweeting and the gifts, the releasing of the sex scene, is very vindictive. It's messed up. But then, there's a lot of piracy that goes on, and why that particular scene? Now it's going to like pirate a random scene of two people sitting at a cafe. Now you're going to pirate something that's
Explicit,
scandalous,
isn't it?
explicit, that'll get a lot of eyeballs.
Right.
That definitely sucks. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on, Gordon?
No, I know you'd mentioned something about studios before.
Sure. Yeah, I was gonna two things. Now that we had discussed Netflix before, I'll start with the more local one. I guess Netflix also being local in a sense.
Woo!
Borden Studios, Borden Studios in Long Island City opened recently. So if you're looking to get work in the studio space as maybe a stagehand or a production assistant, highly recommend. So it's kind of like a resource, current events. Great Point Studios, they're the main, I guess, tenant for Lionsgate at Yonkers. In Yonkers. check them out. Apply there.
Yonk.
They have a new show coming in, so definitely check them out. I know this thanks to my work at, again, LaGuardia. And then what do you guys think about this thing? I'd shared this via text. Wanted to talk about this. Forgot to ask Sean about Netflix with them saying, hey, we want the films essentially to kind of, our films to be dumbed down a bit, where you have the actors discussing what they're actually doing in the scene. So if you're theoretically playing Netflix at home, and let's say you're cooking or you're distracted for a moment while watching the film at home, you still know what the hell's going on. What do you guys think about that?
So, I mean
that's like
it's ridiculous. But
As you like literally take your hand across your face, like, oh,
yeah,
gotta do the exasperated.
disgusting.
yeah. So the one thing I will say is that is awful, and I think studios already think audiences are dumb enough. At least like I said, how they think. But the one thing I will say, it's not even a good thing, it's just like context, is that at least Netflix produces a lot of things. So I'm hoping that this isn't going to be across the board, and I hope they'll just have like a section like shows to watch while you're doing laundry, basically. And like, if you want that, that's there for you. And then we'll also keep making shows like Ripley and like keep making, high-end movies and stuff. That's what I'm hoping. If it's just like we're going to focus more on just doing this mind-numbing mush, that's going to be horrific.
Yeah, I have to, again, I do agree with you completely there. And I have to reference, I don't have it with me right now, but I think it's on my phone. Maybe one of you can check what I'd sent, but that source, I don't recall it. I didn't read or get into that, but something I figured we could discuss, because that is something I saw, I believe, months ago.
Ooh, interesting.
It's not,
and
it's not too recent.
So did this resurface, or is this just an article you revisited yourself?
No, I hadn't read anything on it. It's something I've seen on social media a couple of times, shared by people within the industry, so people within my network, and also shared by people who are, well known, I guess, in the industry. The page is called Discussing Film. This was shared on social media, on Instagram, and essentially what they're saying is Netflix execs are telling screenwriters to have characters announce what they're doing so that viewers who have a program on in the background can follow along. Multitasking, distraction, not cinema, which is immersion. You want to be immersed in what you're seeing. They also have thousands of micro genres, including, this is what you were talking about, Max, including casual viewing to delineate, hey, this is for you if you don't want to be as immersed, which is used for movies and TV that go, I guess show more. I didn't read much on it, but yeah, that's, thank you. That's kind of like the headliner. I need to read more on this to see what's going on, but I must say, I'll just to put a button on it, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, I think everybody knew how people consume Netflix, and Netflix is just addressing that. And it makes sense, like, business-wise, honestly, but it sucks.
Right. It's like, I mean, to lean into like the bet, you don't even have to do it. It's not like a necessary decision. It's just something they're doing because they want extra money. People already do that with movies and shows. You don't have to literally make a whole catalog of stuff that you think this is like decent enough, but like lame enough that you don't have to really pay attention. And like people sometimes have a movie in the background that's a terrific film, and like I get that happens. People like will be doing something, and sometimes they want something on in the background. I just don't like that. That's like you're working with artists. You're a business, but you're working with artists, and I don't think that's really accommodating to them, and I don't think that really is fair to them in terms of them being given a chance by an audience. Like,
yeah,
it's like give a movie your attention if you really want to like commit to it. Don't just be like people will like put a Letterboxd review up and be like, okay, I was like watching this while I was like also like like cleaning my dog off, and then they'll like be like, great stuff, elite, and I'm like, oh god, like,
And then the question also is, which streaming platforms that there are? I think there's how many? There's like almost 50 at this
so
point.
many.
there's a lot.
I honestly don't
Which
even.
ones are actually making a profit? I believe
don't
it's
think-
only Netflix.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah,
Ooh.
they're all losing money.
So I say that to say, if the only one that's making profit is doing this, or telling the execs or telling screenwriters do this, I hope we don't get into what Sean was talking about earlier. Is him as a director, the domino effect. Okay, they're doing that. We got to do that too.
Right.
And then now
It's a
this begins
copycat
to,
industry.
yeah, and they're like,
further erode cinema. Not to make this, a cinephile. I'm on my soapbox and dramatic, but if this is how we're already used to, like,
Right.
I need to, what was it? I need to reheat my food because I haven't selected which movie I
Well,
want to watch.
yeah. Well, the one benefit or the one positive thing I could say, optimistic look at this, is that there was. I'm blanking on the name now. There was a streaming service a few years ago that tried to launch and almost immediately failed, and it was all like vertical content that was like 5 minutes long that you watch on your phone, but it's like TV
they're like
shows.
vertical soap operas.
Yeah, exactly. And people hated it. It
yes.
was not high quality, and people didn't watch it and didn't consume it. And
I think it was called Hooked.
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
They'd always advertise it on YouTube. You watch a video and then it's like you'll see like a little snippet of one of these, and then it would be bad acting, and then like you'll be like, you want to see what happens next? Check out Hooked or something like that. I have a friend who works for one of those companies, and he says it's terrible. He's just like, it's a job out of necessity, of course. He turned down a promotion with it because it's like I don't want to stake my future with this place, and it's like I've made some money working here. I'm willing to take the risk to, depart from it, and this thing is like, it's like you work in like reality TV editing stuff, and you want to make films. And I'm not going to say that a job's a job. I'm not going to deny that. Like, people need to work, but I understand where it's like sometimes you have to like kind of cut the cord, and like be brave enough to go and see if you can forge a path on the outside of it. It's like it's rough.
I agree. On that note, you going to say anything else?
I was just gonna say, yeah. So hopefully, audiences refuse to watch that content
For real.
And, that's how
See if
we
it's a failed experiment.
retain control in this ecosystem.
I'm so sick of overindulging in second screen viewing, as they call it.
Yeah.
I'm like people will be like, oh man, I watched it's like I watched this film while I was like filling out a job application. And I'm like, then just like fill out the job application and then watch the movie later. I get you'll have something on the background. I understand that, but it's like you want to really.
It's a movie, not a podcast.
Right. Yeah. You really want to like engage with a film or just like anything, like art, and like as fully as you can. Don't just like always settle for, this is like second option. I'm sorry for rambling.
No, it's
I was gonna
okay.
say,
Yeah.
we'll get on our soapboxes.
Yeah.
And on that vein, film recommendations. What do we have for?
So I just recently watched 20 Days in Mariupol. Really just an incredible film. I think it was only like $2 and change to buy on Amazon. So go buy it. It's incredible.
You gave Bezos.
I know. I know. Yeah, I mean, it's just some of the like most incredible journalism I've seen. It's incredible bravery.
Yeah. It was up for Oscars last year, right?
Yeah, won the Oscar for best documentary, I think.
Right.
And then didn't the director comment on the Israeli-Palestine conflict at the time, and he got some shit for it?
Well, you're thinking of Jonathan Glazer.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Zone of Interest.
Okay.
Yep.
Narrative film that won best foreign
That's what I was
language
thinking
film.
Another great film. And a great speech.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your recommendation, Gordon?
All right. So I'm caught between two. On one hand, we have a director today who mentioned Eric Romer as an influence, so especially on his film. On the other hand, I'm going to hold off on the Eric Romer film. That could be next week. This week, let's take it all the way back to 1924. So 100 years in the past. 101 later this year.
Well, Gordon, if people are into casual viewing, they're not going to go back 100 years.
Screw them. No, stop.
Do the characters tell me what they're doing?
Do they tell us what they're doing in 1924? That was the year Marlon Brando was born, by the way.
Yes. Every intertitle does say. Every intertitle is like Buster Keaton is dancing. No, I'm joking. I bet there's somebody out there. It's like, oh really? I gotta watch this. So the film is Sherlock Jr. It's Buster Keaton film. Buster Keaton was a famous silent comedian, like Charlie Chaplin. Not exactly the same, very different. Much more deadpan, but quite exciting to watch nonetheless. It's a comedy about a theater projectionist who gets framed for he's a wannabe detective. He's seen reading a book about how to be the detective, like a Sherlock Holmes type, and he gets framed for like a theft that gets him ostracized from the family of his girlfriend, I believe. Yeah, and one day while working in the theater, he dreams that he takes the scenario we just saw and he reimagines it as his own kind of fantastical movie hero scenario in a dream. And he falls asleep during a movie that he's watching, and he imagines himself in the film solving a crime. Ooh. And it's really funny, and it's really sweet, and really it's such a joy to watch. It's very fun and so inventive. For like 100 years in the past.
It's amazing because that movie then predates the invention of television.
Right. And I mean, I've watched a lot of old films to like see like just how much like invention can go into those films in their own right. Yeah. You know, just as much as something newer. You know, there's rougher around the edges technology in a sense, but it's still like there's like so much creativity. And this was made during the silent era, and people always kind of disparage silent films as being like rudimentary or what have you, or kind of dull. But there's a lot of imagination in this film, and it's very funny. And you kind of see like some influence on somebody like maybe say like Wes Anderson, even though he has a variety of heroes.
That's what I was thinking of, like the story within a story within a story.
That's
like,
interesting.
Yeah, how he like is dreaming that he's in the movie.
Yeah.
Where did you watch it?
I watched it on TCM, Turner Classic Movies.
Awesome.
I recorded it.
Turner Classic Movies.
Yes.
Turner Classic.
I love that channel. I don't have it now, but back in the day, I used to watch it a lot.
Yeah.
A great thing to do is just to sit in front of the TV and just watch whatever's on Turner Classic Movies. Yeah. And, you know, appointment viewing, it's got value still.
I used to do that with TV Land when I was a kid. Just watch old TV all the time.
What shows?
Oh, man. A-Team was like my favorite. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, Jeffersons, Good Times.
Yeah. That's
Sanford and Son.
I was gonna say.
Oh my God.
Norman Lear shows.
Literally all of those shows. Like I would watch them. So good.
That's awesome, man.
So good.
All right. So my film rec is George Washington, directorial debut feature film, David Gordon Green. Made 25 years ago, and he's made other films, obviously, Pineapple Express. Yeah. But I really liked it. Saw it with a friend recently, and I just liked that there was structure to it, but also not as much structure, not really like a plot. Predominantly following, an African-American family in the South, North Carolina, I believe. And I love the cinematography. I like the fact that this is a good film to show filmmakers who are looking to potentially make their first feature film as a way of saying, hey, you can shoot something on scope, on location, but then keep it contained and can follow, have a sense of fluidity without being, being grounded, but without being so, restricted, but following a prototype.
Right.
And this was a very nuanced, and it's still 25 years later, it feels so fresh, where it doesn't have a conventional ending. This is what life is.
Very cool.
And I like that again, similar to Sean's film, grounded, mature, and resonated with me. And I was like, oh, this is powerful in a very simplistic, down-to-earth way.
Yeah.
people are, there's not the conventional hero and villain. It's people like, so you think you're a hero now? It's like, no answer. I'm like, that's life.
Yeah.
So I really like it. It's definitely a film, BICC. I'm going to, I'll be pushing, for us in a proposal.
Yeah.
That's how we like to do things. In a nonprofit, a lot of people think that if you're the ED this happens a lot in conversations when I first started the nonprofit, that I'm doing this to enrich myself. This is serving the community and looking to do something that would be a game changer and also something that would be fun and lastly necessary. So
funny people hear nonprofit and are like, oh, so you're going to be making money from this?
Well, there's a nonprofit industrial complex, I will say.
That's fair.
And but I do hear
that work, but yeah.
And then lastly, one of the things we want to do is to show this year the debut films from directors who we now know. So
yes.
you can see, hey, the early parts of their career trajectory,
Right.
and see, what would become their style, their ideas, and how they like to basically direct.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be a director? Loaded question. I'll give a simplistic answer. You are essentially taking what's on the script and elevating it into a visual medium.
Right.
So very good film. Highly recommend it. It's under 2 hours. 25-year anniversary. My friend had a copy of it, so we did it the old way, DVD. So I'll definitely look up where you can watch it online if possible. And we will aim to get the rights to it, the rights to screen it this year. So
where can we find these films?
I'll have to look up where you can watch George Washington.
And mine, like I said, it's like $250 on Amazon to buy it.
Though I watched it on TCM, funny enough, Sherlock Jr. is, I believe, now on the Criterion channel. Oh. If you have a subscription with them, there's like a collection of Buster Keaton movies currently on there that just dropped today.
Very cool.
Cool.
Very cool. Awesome.
All right, fellas.
Good to see you guys.
Knicks fan. Thank you so much for joining us today. Keep making films, Uptown.
Hey guys, I bought you both a present.
What's in the box?